Live. Maybe we are. Maybe we are. Happy Good Friday. Good Friday to you all. I just jumped on here. It's going to be slow because everybody's out hustling and working, which is great. I just took a little breather. I had to stop at the mechanics and I had to pick up a few tires. So I made it back and I got some tires. We got I think next week's pretty busy. So happy Good Friday to you all. I hope you all have a great Easter because I don't know what's going to happen this weekend. I have no clue. It could be moving stuff. It could be relaxing stuff. It could be chasing Easter egg stuff. Kind of the unknown. Could be sports stuff. You know how it kind of goes. Anyways, I was at my mechanics. I was talking to him, a buddy of mine. Not to beat up on the Chevys because they all have their problems, right? Ford, Toyota, they all have problems. But I started the conversation off with I asked him about my buddy's truck that froze up, so it's kind of like that diesel stuff, especially up here in Michigan. We get some really cold weather. Well, he was on a little snowmobile trip up in the Upper Peninsula, up in the UP. He was a Uper, and well, he ended up somehow his DEF froze up. I guess there's like 3 different heaters, and supposedly it sounds like. Hopefully the mic's working here. It sounds like his the one maybe in the tank or something's the one that failed. Well, come to find out, the mechanic was lucky enough to find the actually heater module or whatever it is on top of the tank instead of replacing. They want you to replace the tank, which just sounds, that's more money for that plastic or metal tank or whatever it is. So he was telling me about that. He says, I got him fixed up. It wasn't too bad, a couple $100, a little bit of labor, yada, yada. And then he went to mention that, I guess the wife's Suburban transmission went out. And I don't know what year it is. If I had to guess, it's somewhere the 14, 15, 16, 17, somewhere up in there. I don't think it's up in the 20s yet, but maybe. And I said, no way. He goes, yeah. He goes, well, get this. He goes, we got another factory one. And he says, I guess he said he gave it to him at cost pretty much. But it sounds like that transmission, he said 3 days later, puked out on him. And I'm like, are you kidding me? A brand new from the OEM General Motors transmission pukes out. He said, yeah. He says, but luckily it was covered under warranty. He says, so I got paid my labor on it, which is good. That's good. So he made more money on the mechanic did. It wasn't good for the buddy. It was covered in a sense. So he didn't have to pay, just inconvenience. And then he said somehow his poor kid, the kid through the grapevine, I guess, is a Colorado, which I don't think Colorados have a lot of problems. I don't know what year that one is. Maybe an 07, 010, somewhere in there, maybe a 14. I don't know the body designs so well on those. But I guess come to find out, the motor went bad on it. Now, mind you, it's a younger kid that drives it. Excuse me. It's a younger kid that drives it. So you know how that kind of goes. Was he out hot rodding? Was he, all kinds of stuff? Was he revving it up? Was he showing off? Was he, you just never know. You know what I mean? Did he run it low on oil? But obviously if you guys know anything on them, definitely hit me up and let me know if they're trouble. Oh, sweet. It did take a thing on there. So that's good. But otherwise, I probably won't stand here too long. I just figured I'd jump on. I thought maybe some people weren't working today. We're up and running. Everything's going, at least over on my end. We'll see. We got a little busy spurt going, and then we'll see how things go. But boy, I tell you what, one thing I was thinking about you guys and myself and everybody else is inflation. Wow, is inflation, tires changed, that was $125, which isn't bad, had the tires already, but you got to purchase the tires and all that good stuff. So, I asked the mechanic, it sounded like they haven't seen or heard of it, anything yet, but the lady said, maybe I'll put the sign out. You know what I mean? She says that come in and get your car repaired before, tariffs take effect, and I thought that was pretty, I said, you should. I said, it sounds like the dealerships are doing that. That's what I've been hearing through the grapevine, but I just cannot believe, I've been pricing out um, garage doors and openers. And, uh, something I've been thinking about for us as a community, I'm thinking that we need to definitely consider, and might be a little more worth considering, repairing. Try to make those doors last a little bit longer for customers. Um, I don't think I got my sheet. I got a sheet. I don't think I got my sheet right here. But the price of doors, the metal and stuff has gone up over the years, the consistency of the years, and I just can't believe how much. I just cannot believe how much. So I definitely would agree with like Papa Tony. He was talking a little bit about people are definitely price shopping. And even though I've been trying to throw some grenades out there, stir up the water a little bit, I can definitely tell that people are not flush with the money. You know what I mean? So it's definitely it's a tough market in my opinion. Not everywhere, everybody's different, but but when I see the numbers, when you're going with basically like the cheapest garage door, let's say a 16. Well, I think it was a 16 by 8 roughly, and you're right around the 1750 or something just for the door in itself. And that's even looking through the box stores and stuff, trying to find, the best of the best of the best of the best deals. It's pretty costly, pretty costly. And then when you start adding up an opener in there, mechanic even mentioned something about he got a price, I think, and he was talking about the garage doors openers, how pricey they are. Um, so yeah, definitely, definitely save your pennies. It's going to be a roller coaster, I think, for a little bit. We'll see how things go. If they can get I see, is it Jerome Powell? If they get him, I'm not sure what's going to happen. You got to remember there's a committee back there. So he's not the only head. There's 12 members on that board. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, Mr. T is pumping hard for interest rates to go down. And I'm sure he wants that for things on the market, you know what I mean, to um, look good on his watch, right? They always want it to look good on their watches, no matter who it is or what it is. And but I'm also, I'm skeptical that obviously if that does happen, well, the inflation might be, it only might be, don't worry though, it only might be transitory. So don't worry, all that good stuff. But anywho, I just want to jump on. Like I said, I know everybody's out working, busy. I got to get back to it too. Like I said, I'm not going to stand here long. I just was in to actually really take a water break. I was thinking about you guys while I was scrubbing tires, thinking about, I don't know, we got some products. So, it's one of those things. Stay tuned. We got some video content for you. You got a job that's, this one we're trying to not make it a long distant loser. We know the money, um, the money's there, but can we capitalize on it? Right. It's a big job. So we try to, you're trying to make as little as trips and less boo-boos and calls and all that good stuff. See, Evan's here. Evan, hope you're doing good, man. Proud of you. Good job on getting that cable job taken care of. I sent you that cheaper option. I still can't believe how expensive wedge those wedge kits are. But since you're cruising through, or if you come back, or all that good stuff, when it comes to those cases, I don't have the service ring book here, do I? I don't think so. I got an IDA. But when it comes to those cases, Evan will know what I'm talking about. They're the red cases that Service Spring sells. They seem like they're about the best price. Now, if anybody knows where you can get them cheaper or whatever, obviously shoot me an email, message me, text me, whatever. Let me know. But what I struggled with, especially over the years, when I was switching vehicles, and you don't even have to be switching vehicles. You can just be using a personal vehicle in the instance like I'm kind of doing, or guys starting out are going to be doing. And the problem was that I found out that I would always be low on swedges and stuff. And the cases work. You can buy little compartments and all that kind of stuff. They make all kinds of stuff at the box stores. So you can definitely buy the cases and then fill them up. I just found it so much more convenient that I knew when I grabbed my red box. It's kind of like when you grab that emergency. what do you call it? Your emergency bag. You know what I mean? That has all the band-aids, it has gauze, it has tweezers or whatever in it, scissors. That's what it's like grabbing that box. And when I was buying them, they're right around 400 bucks, give or take. Now they're up to like 600, which is pretty pricey. Definitely not gonna lie. So I was even looking for a used one, to see like maybe something for like Mr. Evan or something, but I couldn't find one. So they're definitely pretty pricey. But like I said, I really it's one of those things. I just really believe in it. I did the crying, but like I said, if you're on a budget, you can definitely grab just get the crimper piece. Some guys smash them with hammers. I was never very good with that. I didn't trust it. Um, just it's just one of those things. This is my opinion. My personal opinion is if a cable fails, it could be potentially life or death for somebody. It's a huge callback. It's a huge problem. So to me, I always use the swedgers, the swedging tool, because when I've done it, I've banged them with hammers before, but I've never felt super confident. So I'm always one. I normally crimp it once at the right size it's supposed to be, and I actually go the smaller size and I'll crimp it again in a secondary spot. But I've never had a crimp fail except for when I let a new person use it and they were on the wrong size and they only half dimpled it. But I have seen numerous of times the hammer method fail because they don't know what they're it's not systematic. Um, and so, like, there's certain things like when you're up in a scissor lift or you're up in the air and you got to do certain things, like it's hard to obviously use a hammer, hitting against the wall or the metal or the insulation, or if you're in the bottom of a scissor lift, even, you're up there just banging, sound like you're a kid, had a temper tantrum, bang, 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 you know. So I'm a big believer you got to have those swedgers, those crimpers. It's just my opinion, and I kind of look at it still to this day. Even though it's a lot of money, I would still just invest in it because then I know when I pick it up. What I liked about it too is everything's very visible, and I can see if I'm getting low on stuff. And then I would just order the replacements, and then it had also the tags on it, so it tells you what size, it tells you a description, it tells you what it looks like, so that compartment needs to have those certain ones. And then and you don't use them all, but it's also got the round. What do they call them? The swedges for the bottom, the metal ones. So if you're doing like a heavier door, you can do that. Because when I was first starting out, I just didn't know. When you take one off or had one break and you seen it had a piece of metal in the bottom, you're like, does it really need that? Well, if it's a heavier door, you probably should, because it helps, where the pin goes, helps distribute that weight. So I don't know. Like I said, it's just one of those things. It's like going going without winding bars, you know what I mean? And say, well, I can use rebar. Yeah, you can, but winding bars, especially the hexagon ones, are just so much nicer, in my opinion. They sit on the door, they're the right feel. They don't have a lot of flex to them. They do the job. You know what I mean? So that's it. But like I said, you can always buy the cheaper ones and then do a case. But what I didn't like was that sometimes you run into, you buy that, and then if you buy the case, um, it's not the same design. And I think the one I seen that possibly sent to Evan is a shorter one, where ours were longer. And it's just nice to have that leverage, and everything's in a case. And especially when you got to fly, as business starts growing, you just need everything to be. I used to put in a garage, right? I had a quarter door spot. I didn't have any shelving at the time, whatever, but I had spots where I marked it with like yellow tape or whatever, and I would set everything in that corner. So I was like a fireman. So as soon as I came out of work, I had a service call. Boom! I back up to my garage. Everything's in this yellow square. That's what's got to go. I would throw that stuff in, and then obviously I'd bring a piece of paper and stuff with my notes, my notepad, so that way if I forgot anything, I'd write down. I try to discipline myself to walk out there and go, it's gonna take me like 2 or 5 minutes, nah, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, but 2 or 3 minutes to walk out there and write this thing down. But it's gonna mean so much later on, because then you got notes. So when you get back, you go, well, crap, I forgot spray lube. I got to bring spray lube next time, or I got to reorder a different size cable. But I like that list because I know stuff gets scattered too if you're using it. But if you can, it's, the crummy part is like typically, at least with me, you always got to buy two sets of tools. You know what I mean? If you only have one hammer, that hammer needs to stay in that yellow zone and do not touch it. You buy another hammer, for that's home. You know what I mean? Because if you start messing with that stuff, it's about guaranteed. I think Mr. Caleb even had a problem. He must have yanked the wrenches out, standard wrenches for something, and he didn't have them in his case or in his little suitcase thing, whatever. And so he only had metric. So, and of course, the track was butt right up to a wall, and we needed standard wrenches. We got away with it. Socket, I think, deep socket, barely, but it's just things like that can add up. So, just something to think about. That's my 2 cents on it. Like I said, I don't like the price tag by any means. If it's a Mayday, obviously just get the tool itself and buy the wedges and stuff separately. But it's kind of cumbersome. Definitely Service Spring can help on that kind of stuff. They're really good about that kind of stuff. So, anywho, otherwise, like I said, I think I'll jump off. I don't know if we'll do anything tonight. It's Friday. Fridays are typically everybody's out partying, spending the big money, heading out. I don't know if anybody does any stuff on Good Friday. Isn't that kind of more like you're supposed to be good? It's Good Friday. You're supposed to be good. Don't be bad. All that good stuff. But yeah, I got to check. I know Nissan is definitely going to be due for some rear brakes. Hopefully, they don't have different rear ends or something funny in them. Hopefully. So, time to get some of those on order. Time to do some maintenance. I actually, I might even message. I might message Mr. Caleb because he's got a tire that's darn near down to the belts. And I told him, I said, you got to get that swap to the back. I said, you're going to be left with a flat tire. So, but I get it. I get it. It is expensive out there, you guys. It is expensive. So just do the best you can. Make sure, like I said, with the economy, you might want to reconsider a little bit instead of throwing stuff out there for customers and just throwing them right into the bus and say, you need to replace it. Look at it and go, gosh, that's going to be a $2,000 bill plus. So, maybe you can squeeze them a little more for, $300-500, 7-8, whatever it is to repair it and keep it going for them a little longer. Cause, I'm seeing kind of the same thing. There's a lot of price shopping. And so people, the money is not flush and the prices of doors are up. Holy moly, man. The price of stuff is it's even got me kind of opening my eyes going, this stuff is ridiculous. What is going on here? This is too expensive. So anywho, take care, you guys. Have a good Friday. Keep the fingers. Don't do it on a Friday. If you're going to lose them, do it on a Monday. No, just joking. Don't do it at all. We'll take care. We'll see you on the next one. If you guys want to chat or something, let me know. We'll fire something up if it's available. Otherwise, have a good day. I gotta figure out how to turn this thing off. I always forget. See you later, alligator.